just 12 months ago, my company was fighting for its life, where we had just gotten the company off the ground when the market completely collapsed. And we were faced with a moment of truth, where at the time, we were still burning hundreds of thousands of dollars. The bank that we were using literally went under and almost wiped out all of our cash with it. And then lastly, to top it all off, our growth as a company was flatlining. And so we were faced with an ultimatum. Either figure out how to take our fate into our own hands and actually make it, or go under. And I am happy to report that as this year comes to a close, not only did we somehow survive, but we actually had our best year yet. We've grown this year from 1.7 million in recurring revenue all the way to 14 million in recurring revenue, or an 8x on just this year. And at the same time, we have had so much to be grateful for, from landing Forbes 30 under 30 to getting an awesome office here on the beach in Venice, California. And so I'm gonna walk you through all of my favorite moments from this year, from all the laughs to all the stresses and challenges, and all the lessons I've learned this year of how to build a successful business so that you can do the same for yourself one day. So we started off this year at $1.7 million in annual recurring revenue, which was a really cool feat because the prior year we had started at 0. But the issue in all of that was that over the last few months, our growth had completely flatlined. And when I say flatlined, I mean not just flatlined, but our new signup growth had literally actually declined. And this was a huge problem because not only were our costs still way above our revenue, but the VC funding market had completely dried up. And so if I pull up our P&L from January of this year, we were burning $200,000 more in cash than we were actually making at the time. And I cannot tell you how stressed I was, where if you look back here at all of the all hands decks I did for the team at the time, so the weekly Monday presentation I give to the company, and you just look at some of these titles here of like, we've hit a rough spot, it's wartime, we've got to figure out how to turn things around. It's really, really clear that we were super, super stressed. And to add insult to injury, if you even just look at the recordings of our meetings at the time, you can just see how stressed I look here, where I'm just like, please, can we please figure this out? I'm so stressed. But of course, what you learn in life is that you can get through anything tough if you just persist and never give up. So by late February, we started to figure things out, and our revenue growth started to creep back up to the point where we were like, I think we might be coming out of the woods here. But of course, life is never that easy. And I swear the universe just decided to do some sort of cruel twist of fate where we had one of the biggest "are you serious" moments that I've ever had in my life. So basically what happens is my co-founder Vitaly and I start talking about the business, and we're like, hey, things are starting to go a little bit better. I think we started to figure it out, but we really need to unplug for a bit and not be surrounded by the day-to-day to really think through the strategy thoughtfully so we can guarantee our long-term success. And so we're like, hey, you know what? Let's take a couple of days off during the week to unplug and go skiing so that we can sit there, be in our bodies, be really physical, and then on our ski lifts, really figure out and think through thoughtfully what to do with the business. And Vitaly makes me make a promise to him that I will fully unplug so I can truly dedicate all of my mental energy to figuring out the business with him. And so we head out on this ski trip. We road trip the entire time because we're like, we're gonna talk through the business. We're gonna be trapped in the car. It's gonna be great. And then we go ski. We have a great time. We're filming these really stupid TikToks. And by the end of the trip, we're like, dude, we've got this. Like, we've got a plan on lock. And of course, then on our way home, I'm like, you know what, Vitaly, I'm gonna plug back in and just check in on the team. I just wanna make sure they're doing okay. And so I distinctly remember I was sitting in the passenger seat of the car and I pull out my phone and I turn it on, and all of a sudden, I just have like 35 notifications of frantic news headlines and texts where the headline basically just says, Silicon Valley Bank, our bank, is going under. Like, I have multiple founders texting me that their companies are going under. I'm like, I don't know if we're gonna have cash. How are we gonna make payroll? I'm like frantically calling my VC. I'm frantically calling all these different banks, and Vitaly's like on the road driving, also freaking out. And we're sitting here just like, how are we gonna save this company? Like, through no fault of our own, like, we finally figure out our company, and then lo and behold, something outside of our control happens. And I ended up filming so much of this journey because I was like, this is absurd. We're gonna hopefully laugh back at this one day. And so I'll put up this clip here of us finding a Chase branch in the middle of nowhere, and us walking in like desperately trying, like I'm begging this woman working to help us open an account, and she's just like, sorry, it's 4 o'clock, we don't do this after 4. And I was like, there are millions of dollars we're trying to give you, like please help us. But thankfully, Mommy Yellen ended up stepping in the next day, guaranteeing all of the funds within the bank, and we were able to make payroll, which was great for us so that we could survive, and really helped stabilize the company so that over the next few months, through the course of March and April, we actually ended up seeing some incredible revenue growth that has set us up really, really well for our upcoming VC board meeting. And so one of the biggest things that I had to learn this year was how to manage your VCs and deal with a board. And what I mean by that is if you think about your VCs or your investors as kind of like your bosses or your partners in some way, you have to manage their expectations and give them all the information at their fingertips so that they can help you think about the future of your business. Because if you don't do this properly, you end up getting those scenarios where the entrepreneur and the VCs end up fighting, and it just creates a lot of destructive interference in an otherwise company that could be going really well. And so many of y'all know that my lead VC is Yuri Kim at 400 Ventures. And we just have such a wonderful relationship where we're always having fun riffing on the business, or she's trolling me or what have you. But she's also holding me to an extremely high standard to make sure that I'm executing on the business and giving me really helpful, thoughtful advice. And I think the reason why we have such a wonderful relationship is actually twofold. Number one is admittedly because the company is doing well. Because if you think about it, if the company's not doing well, there's just all this stress all the time, and people end up getting pretty negative in those scenarios. But then number two, and I think more importantly, is we just have a ton of trust between each other, where we have really similar shared values, shared background. And at the end of the day, she knows that in all be all, I will do whatever it takes to make sure that the company, the team, and her investment are all well taken care of. And so the one thing I want you to think about as you head into your own version of board meetings and picking your investors and raising funds is I want you to think about your VCs or your investors actually as marriage partners. Because if you think about it, they're in this once they invest for the long run, for many years, 10 plus years sometimes. So to be super thoughtful about what partner you pick, like, are they a good person? Do they share your values? Are they gonna be there for you through thick and thin? And just like any other successful relationship, it requires constant and thoughtful communication. And one way that I do this is that I always send a quarterly investor update where I reflect on not only what's going well, but also, and I think more importantly, what I'm currently stressed about and what's not going as well. And so if we fast forward to the end of June here, so the end of Q2, I'll actually just pop up our Q2 investor update I sent. And so if you look at this investor letter here, you'll see that I start always with the finances, but then I really quickly dive into the highlights of what we've actually accomplished and done this quarter. So in this case, we launched our biggest feature we'd ever launched to date, which is email marketing. Then we also hired some really awesome people on the team. And then lastly, we took everyone on a really awesome offsite to Seattle. But here's the issue though. Around this time in June here, when we're finally starting to see the company take off and do really well, I myself at this time was really, really struggling. And I think the thing that was really affecting me, that I think affects all of us in many ways, is I hadn't realized that over the last 2.5 years since starting this business at the time, I had so much stress compound over time that not only was I just like purely burnt out because I was just exhausted from working so hard in general, but I didn't give enough credit to just how depressed I was from just all of that stress adding up. And so it culminated in this point over the summer where despite the company going as well as it ever had, I was really questioning whether I wanted to continue with Stan. Like there were some days that I was having such a bad day that if I did get out of bed, I would just cancel all of my meetings in the morning. I would just sit in a dark room playing video games because I just couldn't ramp up for my day. And it got so bad that at some point, Vitaly just sat me down in a random WeWork meeting room. He was like, John, we have a problem. You are not doing well. And so midway through this year, like near the end of June, we literally on a whiteboard laid out a plan for me to leave the company and quit. And so heading into July, our plan was basically to figure out how we were gonna transition me out of the business. And as part of that, you'll see my July calendar is actually pretty light because I decided to take some meaningful time off to just go soul searching. And that's actually when I had a magic moment where I realized that I needed to find new meaning through Stan. Basically, everything I was doing before I had really burned out on. And I had really lost the North Star of why I'd actually started the company in the first place. And that North Star is also my biggest learning from the entire year, which is that people are everything. And what that meant for me at first was specifically our customers. Like when I think back to why I started Stan in the first place, it was because I realized just how hard it is to actually make a living doing something that you love and working for yourself. And I just started thinking about all of the creators who trust Stan to run their business and use it to fundamentally change their lives. Like we have creators making a full-time living, sharing their passions on gardening and sourdough bread baking. Like we even have a creator who this year went from zero to making her first $1 million on Stan and retired her husband while also going to be super present with her daughter. Any topic you can think of, we have a creator on Stan who's creating content in that field and helping and educating in some way and using the funds that they're making from Stan to pay off their debts, to put food on the table, or just help themselves and their family be financially independent. And that's when I realized, like, holy crap, like I can't leave Stan yet. Like it's such a good thing in this world and we still have so much left to do. And so that all culminated into one of my favorite events of the year where I was like, holy crap, our customers are badasses. Like we need to celebrate them. And so we threw this event called Collab Fest, where we rented out this massive studio space. It was beautiful and we decked it all out. And we invited all of our creators to come, and we had people literally fly from across the country, from other different countries in just for the day so we could celebrate them and all of their successes. And we just made it about them, and it was so much fun. Like we had obviously the main room and there were all these refreshments and all this stuff, and people were networking and meeting because being a creator is such a lonely job. And then on top of that, we had these really cool content rooms. So I sat in a podcast interview style studio where I got to sit down and interview all of our top creators and ask them their stories of how they went from nothing to what they've done now, and they share their successes, and it was so inspiring. And then Lo on the other end was running a room that we called the Hot Ones room, where they were also sharing their stories and their successes while eating really hot sauce. And then just in the middle, we had so many cool things. So obviously we had a photo booth that had really great photos. And then we even had an artist come in who was drawing these really cool sketches of everyone in attendance. And of course, also I ended up getting on stage to give a speech. I did get kind of emotional, but it was just really beautiful getting to look out on the crowd of all these folks who had just done something really cool for themselves. So like taken life by the reins and said, I'm gonna go build something for myself. I'm gonna go through the hard work of showing up online and building this brand for myself, building a business. And to bring all those people together was just like such good energy. But the most special thing about Collab Fest is that it was actually a window into showing me what my true purpose is here now at the company, which is supporting my team. Because when you think about when I first started Stan, it was just me and Vitaly like in a room desperately scrambling to try to figure something out and try to make something work. And everything that we accomplished was through our own hard work of us doing it ourselves. But the thing about Collab Fest was I didn't put together Collab Fest. My team did, where I just had this really beautiful memory. And I took a quick video for my own memory's sake. I'm glad I did, so I can show you guys here, where Lauren and Haley on the team had planned the whole thing. They joked that it was their wedding. And they were sitting down in front of the entire team. They sat the whole team down and they were just running through a game plan of like, this needs to happen, like the day before. And it was just so cool to see them like in their element with their own baby that they had created, and they were making it happen. And that to me, of getting to watch the team blossom and grow in their own right, has been by far the highlight of my year. Like as you think about your career, there is truly nothing better than getting to work alongside an awesome team. Because whether we're just cranking on some sort of project that we're worried is gonna go under, or our company might even go under, when we're in the trenches like that, or when we're having fun, like taking the team to Disneyland or a Raptors game, there's just something so special about those moments of shared experiences that have really, really made my life so full at the company. And what's really cool about all of this is it hasn't been one-sided, where when I think back to probably my proudest moment at the company was specifically on my birthday. So to paint the scene for you guys, it's September, it's a Monday morning. I lead all hands bright and early on a Monday morning. And I walk in, and I'll put the video here for you to watch too. I walk in and my team is just singing happy birthday to me. I'm like, oh, this is cute, thank you so much. And lo and behold, I open this bag and they have iced me. And let me remind you, it's bright and early on a Monday morning before I'm supposed to do my most important presentation of the day. And so I think the two things I'm most proud about this experience is, number one, I chugged the whole thing in one go. I did not stop, and it was the massive ice. So I'm very proud of myself for that. But then number two, I was just really happy and really proud that we built a culture where the team felt comfortable doing that to me in the first place, because I think it speaks towards making sure that we're never at a company that's just like a super overly corporate culture. And so when I think about my month of October and November, I think that my most interesting learning that will be relevant to you one day as well is the transformation that we all have to go through from being a doer into a leader, which I think for me has been a strange and weird journey, because growing up, I never thought of myself as a leader. Like, I just always did what I was told. And so to now find myself in this moment where I'm just like supposed to lead a company is kind of an absurd experience for me. And so you end up going through this weird shift of, before you're spending all of your mental energy and time doing things, and now I spend all of my time and energy thinking about how I can create this wonderful culture for people to excel in and grow in, and support them through just conversation rather than doing, to actually help them achieve their goals. And I remember when I was first going through this transition, I actually really didn't enjoy it at first. I didn't want to be a manager. I just wanted to go do things and not be bothered. But I will tell you for a fact that that transition all ends up being worth it. Because I have this one memory that I don't think I'll ever forget, where we all just as a team were hanging out on the beach. It was like beautiful golden hour sunset. And we were all just hanging out. Like, everyone was just laughing, having a good time. It was so joyous. And I just remember looking out at the team and having just this deep sense of pride and fulfillment. And that memory, I think when I look back on the stand journey one day, will be one of my all-time favorite memories. And so as I reflect on this whole year, it's had so many ups and so many more downs, but it's been so full. Like, it's pushed me to my very limits. It's helped me grow so much and forced me to learn who I want to be in this world and how I want to show up and how I want to help people. And I couldn't be more grateful for that. But the one thing that I know to be true is that this is truly just the beginning. There's still so much left to do for me to even have a shot at building a billion-dollar company, and so many failures and lessons learned that I still have ahead of me for us to potentially succeed. And so I just want to thank you for being here along the ride with me, and I'm wishing you truly the very best of holidays. And to my team, you guys are fucking awesome.